I decided that I needed to do something different. I scripted this whole thing, but reading through it, it just seemed to me that there was something missing. I needed to do something drastic. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, welcome. I've come to the southwest of England. I've come back to Dartington College of Arts. I've come back to the place where I learnt to paint pictures. In fact, I learnt to paint pictures in that porter cabin, which is no longer there. They tore it down and put a gypsy cabin there instead. This is where I learnt to be an artist, and this is the third and final part of my Corporate Artist series. I absolutely love Dartington. In fact, I love something that doesn't exist there anymore. I love Dartington College of Arts. Dartington College of Arts is my sanctuary. But it's also a ghost, and it only exists in the minds of the people who ever went there. While other visitors wander around and see the Great Hall, the courtyard, and what's left of Higher Close, we, the alumni, see the ghosts of our friends, the noise, the joy, and the rain. No, I was here 3 years in total, and I think during those 3 years it rained for one whole solid year. Just walking up the drive, just standing in the fields, just walking around Higher Close, just being there brings me closer to the things that I learnt there. And the things that I learnt there form the foundations of the principles by which I approach all of my work, the people around me, the people I work with, and the people I work for. I think every single person that ever studied at Dartington has these set of principles. It was a way of working, it was a way of thinking about the world. There were ghosts, there were steam trains, there was a beautiful, magical garden where we would get lost or get drunk or get stoned and think about the world. I went back to Dartington to see those ghosts, to meet them again, to think about those principles that I learnt there, to think about what it means to be an artist, to think about the artist that I think that I've become. And I came back with a completely different idea about what this third and final part of the Corporate Artist series should be.
This is absolutely horrible.
The whole idea of this series is that I would present a way of working that could be considered as a corporate artist, and which would be radically different to the way you or the LinkedIn gang think that they should work or do work. I was expecting you to challenge me, to call it nonsense, to say that I was being foolish and an idiot. But that never really came. There was feedback from professionals who were saying, hey, that's exactly how I work, but I've never thought of it in terms of being an artist. Or this whole thing about taking the world apart and looking at it and putting it back together again in a way which makes sense to the artist is something that you would learn on an MBA course. It just has different words. And then the final kicker would be to say, well, you don't think that any of this has any financial value, and kind of come around the corner and say that this whole series has been built on the principles of a company which is probably the most successful company of the last 5 or 6 years, Amazon. these whole films have been based upon the 14, how many? 14. So these whole films have been based on the principles, the Amazon principles, 14 Amazon principles, stuff that you would normally associate with art stuff, like, you know, thinking big, being curious, standing up for what you believe in. My favorite one is have a backbone, disagree, and commit. Love it.
In the heat of the investigative pursuit, the shortest distance between 2 points is not necessarily a straight line.
And I got lost and struggled with, you know, what would be the difference between a corporate artist and somebody who does this stuff in an MBA context. And that really, really stumped me. I came back from Dartington with my principles solidly aligned with the way that I looked at the world and the way I wanted to do stuff. And couldn't finish this film, couldn't finish it. Until this morning when I was laying in bed. And I stumbled upon a film with David Lynch, and it's David Lynch reacting to time constraints on this masterpiece, which is season 3 of Twin Peaks. Have a look.
It drives me nuts that we have to do stuff in 2 days. Somebody arbitrarily says you got to do it in 2 days.
No.
That really pisses me off.
This blew my mind. This was it. This is the missing link. There are 2 things in here which are fundamentally genius and scary and annoying all at the same time. It's David Lynch's struggle with a procurement-based culture and his inability in that world to get to dreamy.
This is absolutely horrible. We never get any extra shots. We never get any time to experiment. We never get to, you know, go dreamy or anything.
I always wanted to finish this series on a corporate artist manifesto, and you know, I was going to nick some stuff from the Amazon thing. It was going to be obsessed with impacting people, ownership of the process, inventing and simplifying the world, and all of those things that I've already talked about throughout this series. But it was only this morning that I found what I was looking for, the answer to why I couldn't finish this video, part 3, the one I've already recorded, because that doesn't make sense anymore. After visiting my old college that doesn't exist anymore, it's the film with David Lynch.
You know, that it's sick, this kind of way to do it. You don't get a chance to sink into anything. It's not a way to work.
And you
tell me I got 2 days to do all these things. There's just bang, bang, bang. It's like a machine.
This man has been thinking about this series for, I don't know, 26 years. He's waited 26 years to get that series 3 done. He's been thinking about it for years, and yet he needs more time. He needs time to go dreamy. Dreamy isn't a quantifiable unit. It's not a KPI. It's not something you can control. I think David has delivered us with a possible corporate artist manifesto, the thing I wanted to leave you all with. It's a very, very simple one. It's a simple rule. The corporate artist manifesto has just one line, and it reads, "We insist on going dreamy."